The luminous deer. Prologue. The last whisper of the desert. The world had forgotten the desert of veils, a desert where the sand whispered secrets and the sky burned with colors invisible to mortal eyes. It was a place of ruins and forgotten gods, where reality bent like a mirage. Few dared to cross its shifting dunes, and even fewer returned. But legends spoke of a white figure, a solitary figure who roamed the desert as if it were a sanctuary. Some said she was a ghost, others a prophet. No one knew her name. No one knew her purpose, until the night the luminous stag descended. Chapter 1. The White Wanderer. Her name was Eliora, though she hadn't spoken it in years. She wore a tattered dress, her hood pulled low over her face, protecting her from the relentless storms of iridescent dust. She had come to the desert of veils in search of answers. Answers to the visions that haunted her dreams. Visions of a celestial stag, its antlers woven from starlight, floating above the dunes like a specter. Tonight, the visions had grown stronger. The air vibrated with energy, and the sand beneath her feet sparkled as if alive. She climbed the highest dune, her breath visible in the cold, and looked up. There, suspended in the sky, was the luminous stag. Its body was a shifting hologram of rainbow light, its antlers stretching toward the sky like fractal constellations. It did not move. It did not breathe. It was simply a beacon of impossible beauty in the desolation, and it was watching her. Chapter 2. The First Revelation. Eliora fell to her knees. The presence of the stag pressed upon her mind, not with words, but with images. She saw a civilization of light, a city floating among the auroras, its towers made of crystalline energy. She saw the stag at its heart, a guardian, a god. And then she saw the fall, a shadow, vast and hungry, engulfing the entire city. The stag's light faded, its people scattered like dust in the wind. The vision faded. Eliora gasped, her hands clenching the sand. "What are you?" she whispered. The stag's voice echoed in her soul, a chorus of 1,000 whispers, the last ember of a dying world. Chapter 3. The Call to the Forgotten. The next morning, Eliora found a path where there had been none before. The sand had parted, revealing a trail of glowing runes leading deeper into the desert. She followed it. The further she went, the more the world seemed to unravel. The sky twisted into swirling auroras, and the ground rippled like liquid glass. She came upon ruins, monuments to a lost people, their walls engraved with images of the luminous stag. In the center of the ruins stood an altar. Upon it lay a fragment of light, a shard of stag antler. As she reached for it, the desert held its breath. Chapter 4. The Awakening. The moment her fingers touched the shard, light burst forth. Eliora's mind expanded. She saw the truth. The stag was not just a god. It was a vessel, a prison. Inside lay the last remnants of a race that had tried to flee their dying world. The stag had carried them through the void, but the journey had broken it. Now it was fading, and with it, her people's last hope. And she, Eliora, was the key. The shard burned in her palm, scorching her skin with golden light. "You have been chosen," the stag's voice echoed, "to restore what has been lost." Chapter 5. The Shadow in the Sand. But she was not alone in the desert. Something was watching her. A presence, dark and cold, crept between the dunes. The sand blackened where it passed, as if drained of all life. Eliora had seen it in her visions, the shadow that devoured the city of light. It had followed the stag, and now it had found her. That night, as she slept, the shadow spoke. "You cannot save them. You cannot even save yourself." She woke screaming, the shard glowing violently in her grasp. Chapter 6. The Pilgrimage of Light. Eliora knew she had to reach the celestial oasis, a place spoken of only in the oldest myths of the desert. There, the veil between worlds was thin. There, she could restore the stag. The journey was a trial. The desert shifted around her, the dunes forming labyrinths, the sky filling with storm clouds of violet energy. The shadow stalked her, twisting the earth to slow her down. But the stag guided her. Its light cut through the darkness, illuminating a path that only she could see. Chapter 7. The Guardian of the Dunes. At the edge of a glass canyon, Eliora met Caliph, the last guardian of the desert. An imposing figure clad in armor of bone and silver, his eyes shining like dying stars. "You carry the last light of my people," he said, his voice like a millstone. "But the shadow will not let you pass." Eliora showed him the shard. "I must try." Caliph watched her for a long time. Then, with a sigh like the wind, he knelt and placed his hand on the ground. The glass canyon shattered, forming a bridge of light. "Go. And if you fail, know that you were the last to dare." Chapter 8. The Celestial Oasis. The oasis was not a place of water, but of light. A vast lake of liquid starlight stretched out before her, its surface reflecting not the sky, but another world, the lost city, still intact, still glowing. The luminous stag stood at its heart, its form flickering like a dying flame. Eliora stepped into the light. The water engulfed her, and suddenly she was there. The city lay in ruins, but its essence remained. The stag turned to her, its eyes filled with sadness. "You are the bridge, Eliora, the last thread between our world and yours." The shadow loomed at the edge of the city, a storm of darkness. "You are too late," it hissed. Chapter 9. The Final Battle. Eliora raised the shard. "No, I am just in time." She plunged the fragment into the stag's heart. Light exploded. The city reformed, its towers rising from the dust, its inhabitants, ghosts of light, reappearing in the streets. The stag's antlers burst into flames, and the shadow screamed as the radiance consumed it. But the effort was too great. The stag's form began to crumble. "We are free," he whispered, "but our time in this world is over." Chapter 10. The Sacrifice. Eliora understood. The stag's power was spent. He could not stay. As the city faded away, the stag knelt before her. "Take our final gift." He pressed his forehead against hers. Visions flooded her mind. Knowledge, memories, power. The essence of a dying world, now hers to carry. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the desert. The oasis was gone. The stag was gone. But she was not alone. Chapter 11. The Legacy. Eliora's dress now sparkled with threads of starlight. Her hands glowed faintly, like embers of the stag's power. She crossed the desert again, but it was no longer a desert. Life had returned. Flowers bloomed in her footsteps. The auroras above danced in celebration. The shadow was gone. The people of the stag were at peace. But the world was still broken. And she, Eliora, the last bridge, had a new purpose. Chapter 12. The New Dawn. Years later, travelers spoke of a woman in white, walking the edges of the world. Where she passed, deserts bloomed. The lost found their way. The broken were healed. Some said she was a goddess. Others said she was a ghost. But those who looked closely saw the truth. In her eyes, the luminous stag still shone. And if you stand in the heart of the desert of veils, on the night when the auroras burn brightest, you might see her, standing on the dunes. I look up, waiting. Epilogue. The Eternal Light. The deer's antlers now form a constellation, visible only to those who know where to look. And sometimes, when the world is quiet, you can hear her voice in the wind. We are gone, but the light remains.